Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. John Mulaney spoke to GQ about his early days and how he was part of an alt comedy scene. John said, I didn't feel like we were Black Flag or anything, and I was on the straighter edge of it, but it did feel like we were weirder than the norm. Then he noticed he was getting big laughs on the road, just like he was in New York. He said, I might have been in Madison, Wisconsin. It was like 2013. It was older parents at the show with their teen kids, and they both seemed to enjoy it. I thought, this plays in East Village, but it's also working in Wisconsin. Maybe we should see how far we can push it. It was around then that he started wearing a suit. Now, I think from memory, if you look at his earlier albums, he's in a hoodie. Mulaney said an aha moment came when he was playing a club called Laughing Skull Lounge in Atlanta. I remember that club. When all 6 comics on the bill wore the exact same nerdy white guy outfit, and so did everyone in the crowd, Mulaney said, I remember thinking, they paid money to see something. Why does it look like one of the audience members is standing on stage talking? And he began to suit up. The Harvard Gazette spoke to Eliza Schlesinger. She discussed the balancing act between not offending and not allowing public opinion to ruin a good joke, and says female comedians are always judged more harshly. Quoting Eliza, as women, we are constantly having to justify everything and make sure that you know, I don't mean to offend. We love to pick apart people and women. We do it deliciously. We love the schadenfreude of, I know that all she said was she loves fluffy clouds, but she didn't say she loved rain clouds also, which means you hate the rain, which means you love climate change. Schlesinger discussed the algorithm and said, we all have our own personalized channels on Netflix, and we all have our own personalized comedians because we have so much to pick from on social media. That's just not the way the human brain works. How could I tailor something that 100% speaks to you? At the end of the day, we're all people, and we all go through the same things. When you can tap into that, which I always strive to do, that's how you over to play Kuala Lumpur and also Ireland and also Tokyo. You're reaching a very human thing. Leanne Morgan says she gets her positive attitude from her mom. I'm from a rural farming community of 500 people, and my extended family, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, a lot of family, we were always around, and we always seemed to make jokes out of bad times. Did you hear me say aunt? I'm from Queens. Why did I say aunt? I'm leaving it in. Aunts and uncles, that's how we talk? What's going on? I'm selling out. Listen to me with the aunts crap. You guys should throw pies in my general direction. I hope you miss, but if you don't, I'll understand. Leanne said, we use humor together. I can't believe I said aunt. Deacon Mike in Cleveland, you've known me for 30 years. What is wrong with me? Leanne Morgan said, we use humor to get through things. Bad things would happen, but we would make light of what we could get through it. I think humor can help us see that when bad things come, there are silver linings, like, oh, that happened, and this wonderful thing came out of it. Leanne says, I can get bogged down and start looking at social media and freak out. It's easy to get sucked in and start thinking the world's on fire. When that happens, I get off social media and try to remember that God is in control. I pray, and then I try to get out and walk. Being in nature helps me. Seeing my magical grandbabies keeps me grounded. I agree with her. Going for a good walk and getting fresh air and clearing your head. I know personally when I write better in the morning. I write better promos in the morning. I write better scripts for this show in the morning. By like 3, 4 in the afternoon, I do tasks, I call them. Like, oh, can I just edit something where I don't have to think? But morning brain's where it's at. Go for a walk. Today, I actually exercised before writing the podcast, before recording the podcast. So I feel good today. You know what I'm saying? Leanne says, I come home from L.A. where I'm shooting a sitcom for Netflix where everybody thinks I'm a star and my name is on things and I feel like Beyonce, and my family's like, can you wash my panties? And I need you to go pick up a prescription at Walgreens. That keeps me grounded. That is hilarious. Leanne, any advice for those of us who want to be funnier? She says, go see live shows. Go see your favorite comedian or go see a funny Broadway show. Back to the Future, the musical. It's closing soon. You should go. It really does feel good to laugh with other people. You could even go on social media and find somebody that tickles you and watch them instead of all this other mess about death and impending World War III. The Guardian spoke to Phil Wang, who said, no matter how much experience I have, no matter how many times I've been on TV, I always approach every gig assuming people don't know who I am and have noticed that I'm Asian. It's like a tick for me. I can't stop trying to bridge the gap by joking about it. I'm writing new material at the moment, and already the first few minutes are about being Chinese. It's not conscious. Jerry Seinfeld once said, every comedian only really has the same 10 minutes, and I think there's something to that. Doing stand-up about Asianness is a way of me taking control, addressing what I think is the elephant in the room. As my career has progressed, comedy's become a different experience. The way I see it, I used to date comedy and now I'm married to it. I still love it, but it's not all about new experiences and places. It's now just part of my life. That's not to say I'm complacent. I still worry about not getting 80% in whatever I do. I recently watched my first special on Netflix and thought, this could have been better. I got that bit wrong. Next time, maybe I'll get 100%. I'll jump in there. And I teach this to my fellow podcasters. I teach a couple college classes. You will drive yourself nuts. Hand in the homework. At some point, the show's done. Believe me, every single episode of this podcast, I listen. I'm like, oh, that could have been better. That could have been better. And yeah, but at some point, you got to hand in the homework. Vulture had done their list of the comedians you should know and will know. One of their comedians is Vic Michalis. Whose career would you want? Vic says, the landscape of comedy is changing so rapidly, it's hard to say. I love comedy-based folks who really lean into acting and use their success to choose their work. Lisa Kudrow, Paul F. Tompkins, and Quinta Brunson are all people I would love to follow. Worst show ever? When I was first starting out, my indie team got booked on a show at a venue none of us were familiar with through someone's cousin. When we arrived to check in, we realized we'd be performing in a club. Not a comedy club, a club, as in bottle service. My best guess is the booker thought we were doing stand-up, and he was hoping we'd say funny things while hyping up the crowd as the DJ switched out. What she was not expecting were 6 overeager improvisers looking for one-word suggestions to get started. We had been paid a very small amount of money up front, so the show had to go on. The DJs were so mad they wouldn't turn the music down and laid on the horn sound effect every time we tried talking. The whole thing ended with a locally known rapper getting the entire club to chant Muppets until we left the stage. Some life lessons. The biggest thing I've learned is that if I'm not doing things outside of comedy, I have nothing to pull from. Sometimes I get so caught up in shows and work, I forget to do things that make me a complete person. I've learned it's not only okay, but necessary to take a break and live my life where everything becomes self-referential and boring. I try to do things I'm bad at and work on things that require spending actual time with people I love. Comedy requires so much of your heart that if it's empty, it's noticeable. What comedy opinion hill will you die on? Vic says, comedy videos on social media aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and you don't have to participate, but it is a valid form of comedy. Comedy's supposed to be fun, and making videos for people to see without putting studio-quality lighting and sound behind them is a really cool way to see if your ideas resonate with folks. Jay Leno and Adam Carolla will be hosting the 3rd annual Comedy Fantasy Camp in Los Angeles from July 23rd through the 26th. Carolla told The Wrap, I met the guy who started the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and I was like, this is a great idea. We should do this for comedy. The first 2 fantasy camps went so well that we thought, why not turn it into something we do once a year? And Jay Leno was kind enough to get involved, but not just lend his name to it, like really get with the campers and really get granular, really spend time and burn calories. And I think Jay had a good time. Jay Leno says, I had a good time. Because when I was starting out, I was lucky enough to meet the comics Robert Klein, Gabe Kaplan, all these comics who come through Boston. I'd meet them and talk to them, and that's where I learned from, because you're usually taught from somebody who can't do it. You kind of go, who's this guy? People you respect as comedians, they're going to have a more unorthodox way of how you do it. If you're going to do it, it's the only thing you can do. To say, I'm thinking about being a comedian, maybe I'll be a writer. Well, no, I'm sorry. Then you're a writer. I think if you're a comedian and a writer, you're a writer. If you think you're an actor and a comedian, you're an actor, because comedians just want to comede. That's the whole thing. You just want to do stand-up. It's something you have to do, and you'll go to humiliating lengths to do it. Carolla said, I always tell young comedians or young anything, writers or podcasters, I go, what do we need you for? Like, we've got a lot of comedians, you know what I mean? There's a lot of podcasters, a lot of people who think they're funny. There's a lot of people who think they can sing country music. Why you? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's no. But if you think you're different, your angles are different, we've never met you before, then show up and bring us something we need. Leno says the best advice I always give young comics is don't go up as a comic, try and be an MC. If they have a talent show in your town, try to be the MC. Speak at your synagogue, your church, an AA meeting, whatever you need to do to get in front of an audience. Just talk, and if you get a laugh, continue to talk. If you don't get a laugh, then sit down and introduce the next act. But get comfortable in front of people talking. And that's all the voice I have for you today. You know, it's the holidays. I'm recording a bunch of these in a row, so I don't have to, record on Christmas Day. I'm sure you understand. If you'd like to support the show, one way to do it, I really need this iced coffee today. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. You can throw some money in the tip jar. I go to the National Donuts chain. I buy one of these. This is a large iced coffee with caramel and almond milk, and I drink these to keep my voice going so I can record multiple episodes in one day. You know what I'm saying? All right, if you'd like the show without commercials, there's a link in the show notes to tell you how that works. If you're on Apple Podcasts, click the banner. Avail yourself of the 30-day free trial. See you tomorrow.